everyone. Look, I have 4 hands. If only I did have 4 hands, I could get a lot done. So this is actually my first time ever trying to record myself painting. So I don't exactly have the perfect setup, but I'm working with what I have and we'll see how it goes. So I'm making this video for the upcoming new moon solar eclipse happening on the summer solstice, and that will be this weekend, June 20th or 21st, depending on where you live, 2020. Now, I'll go ahead and say that whenever you come across this video, I'm sure it will be relevant for you in whatever's happening in your life. It sort of just happens that way. But my purpose for this today is to bring in a little bit of self-care in these, gosh, I mean, it's intense out there. It really is. And for me, you know, I'm a 3rd decan Virgo sun. And so I really like to figure every little thing out. I love details. I love, you know, finding truth. And a lot of times that does not equate wellness for me. I have to balance how much I do that if I want to sort of keep my well-being forefront. And our well-being should always be held sacred and cared for. And for me, art is one of these ways that I can get out of my head and channel some of that energy, because it doesn't stay mental, it doesn't stay spiritual, it gets down, it becomes physicalized. And this is a very sacred process. It's healing, and you'll be surprised how much you can channel. So I'm hoping that many of you who choose to do this project with me are brand new at creating art. Look at this. I could make like, I won't get distracted. I'm hoping many of you are beginners with art, because there's something really freeing about letting go of what your art looks like. Creating art for me is one of the most healthy forms of self-indulgence that I've ever come across. And letting go of what anyone else thinks of it and allowing it to be something that is just for pleasure. And as you work with the materials, you will learn what things give you the most pleasure. And I encourage you to do more and more of those as you figure those out. So let me talk about these tarot cards that I have here. I also have one. I have the Emperor right here looking at me, because he is my natal beacon card. And if you want to find out what your natal beacon card is, you just add up your birthday, month, day, and year, and then whatever number that is, correlate that to one of the major arcana in the tarot. And then that would be your natal beacon card. And it serves as kind of an overall, it's an overall energy for your life. And for me to have the Emperor is an interesting story that maybe I'll tell you one day. It's just cool how things unfold as you age and learn more about yourself. So I have him there. Now I have the Chariot here. Chariot is the card for Cancer. And this new moon eclipse is happening at 0 degrees of Cancer. I'll talk more about that in a moment. I have the Queen of Cups here because she is our personality archetype for this lunar cycle. And then the Two of Cups, which is the card for the 1st decan of Cancer. Now I have these with me. I'm going to put them here so I can see them while I'm creating, and I'll talk more about them as I go. Now, I want to talk to you a little bit about the supplies that I have. Now, I'm hoping that you can just use things that you have around the house, okay? I have some colored pencils here in just various colors that spoke to me, and I also have a regular pencil because I'm going to be doing some intention work / spell work on this canvas, and I like to do that in just regular pencil. And these are Prismacolor colored pencils. I have this scraper thing. This is a Mod Podge scraper, but an old credit card works even better. This is just some water in a spray bottle. Glitter, because glitter. And then I have some watercolors here. This is the Jane Davenport Bright palette. I use this a lot. These colors are just really gorgeous. And then this watercolor palette is shimmery. And I love glitter and shimmer. So I'm gonna probably wanna use that. This is Yasumoto, okay? I also have this other watercolor palette here. This is also a Jane Davenport. And I have this here mainly because I think I'm going to want to use that gorgeous blue. I know you can't see it, but that's it right there. So with watercolors, one of the tricks is that before you begin to use them, you want to add a little bit of water, because that sort of, it's easier to pick up more pigment. And it doesn't matter if you get water in some of these that you don't end up using, the water will just dry and it'll be totally fine. Okay, so I'm going to just sort of set these aside and let them sort of marinate for a little while. If I can find somewhere. I have so much stuff around me. I do have some, so this is a medium-sized canvas board. Just, you know, you can get it at a craft store at Michael's or whatever. You can also do this on watercolor paper, on wood, on, you could even take like an old composition notebook and then take several, maybe 3 or 4 or 5 pages, glue them together so the paper's thicker, and you can use that. There are a lot of different ways you can do this, and I just encourage you to use what you have if you don't feel like going out and getting something special for this. The purpose here is to create, well, my purpose here, I want to create a blessing for my home. I want to hang it in my kitchen right there on the wall. I'm facing the wall that I want to hang it on. So Cancer rules the 4th house in astrology. Okay, the 4th house is home, family, your inner child. It's good to be painting for your inner child. It's what grounds you, your ancestors, your galactic family, if you're into that. It's one of my favorite places in the chart. Cancer is a very tender sign, even though it is cardinal energy. And for a long time, I didn't really understand why the Chariot was the tarot card for Cancer. I'm like, I don't get it. Like, Cancer's the crab, Cancer's the home, Cancer is this, you know, sensitive, caring, nurturing place of, you know, mothering energy. What's up with this Chariot? Well, if you think about the Fool's journey through the major arcana, the first, you know, the major arcana of the tarot is an archetypal journey that we all take as we become enlightened. And the first third of that journey, of the Fool's journey, is childhood and, you know, growing up and all of that. And the Chariot, number 7, is the card of transition from the home out into the world. And not only that, this is a transition that is celebrated. So this represents, this shows the active cardinal energy of Cancer. Pretty cool. And it's energy that everyone celebrates, going off to college, getting your first job, learning to drive, all of those things, okay? So with that in mind, let's take a moment and just settle in. I'm pouring all of my positive energy into this canvas because this is going to be a blessing for my home. And so I am setting that intention right off the bat. So I'm just going to pick up some of these colored pencils, and I'm going to just start scribbling and making marks on this canvas. I like to begin I need to get loose when I paint. So I'm just going to start doing whatever feels good to me. I encourage you to hold your pencil kind of far down. It keeps you loose. If you have any personal symbols that mean anything to you, I encourage you to put them on this canvas right here. Now this may look crazy, but let me tell you something. It is the most freeing way to create, to just let yourself play. Sometimes I'll even take 2 or 3 of these in the same hand. Sometimes I'll even put them in both hands and get really wild with it. I like that. That pleases me very much. So, feeling a little loose, I'm going to get my regular pencil here. And I'm just going to start letting things come to me, letting words come to me, letting any intentions come to me. And if any words come to me, I'm going to write them on this canvas. And it doesn't have to be legible. You are putting your words there, you know what they mean. Okay, now I am having some runic symbols come to me. And I'm going to draw them on this canvas as I begin the spell work. Everything we're doing here is spell work. This is all part of weaving this home blessing. This symbol is called Fehu. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. It's F-E-H-U. This is a symbol of protection, divine protection. Definitely want that in my home. And then this is joy. I believe this is Wonjo. Joy, peace, abundance, safety, blessings. These are all things that I want in my home for my family. Bringing in this Cancer energy. Okay. All right, we're done. I'm just kidding. Wouldn't that be funny though if you're like, I painted this painting for you. Here it is. So I'm going to put these pencils away now. And I'm going to get these watercolors. I'm going to start with this bright palette here. I have this cup of water with some paintbrushes. And I'm going to just sort of lay down some water on this canvas. Watercolors like to be put in water. They like to start off wet, and they like that. And so this is very Cancer energy, and that's what we're working with here. Okay. I want more water. I want it to be very liquidy. I want to watch this swish around. This is one of my favorite things to watch. This. It's very pleasing to me. I like that very much. So I'm going to put down a little more water. I'm going to add another color. Now, I'm only doing this for pleasure. By the time I've finished this painting, none of this will be showing. This is all just part of my process. This is how I let myself be nurtured. Oh, I want to use this. I want this blue now. I have this fan on and it has kind of dried out all of these watercolors already, even after. Oh, look at that color. Oh, that's beautiful. Beautiful watery colors here. Oh, I love this. This is when it's good to make sure you have your surface protected. I am really bad about protecting my surfaces. I am painting at our dining room table, and let me tell you, there's a good amount of paint that I need to be scraping up on this thing. So I'm feeling a little bit of green. I'm gonna go for these greens here. Oh yeah, look at that. Just going with the flow, allowing it to go. Oh, look at this right here. This right here. just feels healing as I'm watching it. It's all for pleasure. So I'm just going to sprinkle some glitter on this because that's kind of what I'm feeling like I want to do while it's wet. Ooh, I forgot I have those shimmery watercolors too. Might be time to break some of those out. Yes, I want to get some of this, maybe some of this darker. You probably can't see the shimmer on here, and actually I can't either. A lot of times it doesn't come out very much until it's dry. But again, none of this is going to be showing in the final piece. So it's only for enjoyment in the moment and for weaving our energy and our intentions into this piece. Letting your inner child play. It's a very fourth house Cancer thing to do. Fourth house is, gosh, it's really one of the places we are the most vulnerable. It's such a tender place in the chart. And when I say mothering energy, that is not gender specific at all. It can be any gender and be connecting with the nurturing energy of the mother. Speaking of that, while I let this dry a little bit, let's talk about this Queen of Cups. So she is our personality archetype for this lunar cycle. So all queens are water and all queens are cardinal energy. So she is double water and double cardinal energy. So this is like water to the extra, which is exactly what Cancer at 0 degrees is. This is Cancer times itself. It's the energy of Cancer multiplied by itself. So she is every queen in the deck. Well, there's only 4, but each of the queens is best at something. And the Queen of Cups is the most psychic. She's a medium. She's the most telepathic. And she has this angelic energy. She has cherubs on her crown. And then this is the weirdest looking cup in the whole tarot deck. And a lot of people call these lobster claws, but they're not. They're actually angel wings. And they're connected to these cherubs on her throne. And you can see here, the back of her throne is a shell. So her throne is at the water's edge, which is the most receptive place you can be without losing yourself in the subconscious. So she is settled in at the edge of the collective unconscious. And she is scrying. I like to think of her scrying. Scrying is when you gaze into a crystal ball and images come to you. She's doing that in the water. So like everything else in tarot and astrology and everything, there is a spectrum. So on her highest polarity, her highest spectrum, she is this intuitive, nurturing, psychic telepath. She's an oracle. On the lower polarity, she has no substance. She's not grounded. She only reflects you back to you. She has no core. So we want to make sure that we are on land as we are dipping our toes into this collective unconscious. And this feels particularly important to me these days You know, you can't spend more than 5 seconds on social media without encountering conflict. Maybe conflict between people talking about conflict in the world, maybe someone's posting something that conflicts with your own ideals and beliefs about what's going on, and it's quite confronting all the time, all the time. And this is when we have to step out of that pool of what everybody else is doing, and everyone's so sure this is happening, and everyone's so sure this is the way it is. And I honestly don't understand how anyone at all can be 100% certain of anything right now. I am not at all. I have no idea what's going on. The thing that I feel intuitively is that things just are not what they seem on the surface. What I know deeply within my own being is that we are on the right path. And so I keep my focus on that bigger picture. And I'm not even talking about the bigger picture of global events. I'm just talking about, where is this huge leap in human consciousness going to take us? I'm fully confident that that is what's happening. And, you know, I can't imagine that any huge leap like this has ever been easy for any species. So it's going to be, you know, it takes discipline to take care of yourself. It takes discipline to be kind these days, to step out of judgment, to let people have their experience without getting attached to what they say and what they believe. That's how I'm getting through anyway. Everyone has their role. Some people's role is to, you know, bring things into our awareness, and that can be very uncomfortable. Some people's role is to anchor light. Some people's role is to, you know, be the helpers. Everyone has their role. Do you know what your role is? Knowing what your role is right now is vitally important, because you can step out of self-judgment. Oh, I should be protesting and I can't, or I have to, you know, whatever. Don't feel like you have to serve in the same way as everyone else. Everyone has their role. Know what yours is. Okay. So I'm thinking about using some acrylic paint now. I've got my little, this is just a plastic plate, and I've got a few acrylic ink, not acrylic ink, acrylic paints here. These basics are relatively inexpensive. They are more transparent than a lot of acrylic paints, but sometimes that's perfect. Sometimes that's just what you want. So I've got some blues, a teal and orange, and then this is the last little bit of white that I have here. And I'm gonna make sure that I have a paper towel handy. And you know what? I'm not even going to use this plate. I'm going to make this really easy on myself. I'm just going to squirt this paint on the canvas, because sometimes that's what I like to do. And don't be afraid to make it thick. I like a lot of texture. And that means I like scratches and marks and layers of activity on the canvas. And when you have layers, you can cover up mistakes, you can create a lot of interest in the work, and it's just a fun way to play. I'm going to do a little bit of white here. This is really, okay. So this is where my little scraper is going to come in handy. Okay, so I'm just going to take this, I'm going to start moving this paint around. I'm not thinking about it too much. Look how cool that is. I want some of it to mix. I want some of it not to mix. It's getting into some of the watercolor that is still wet, and that's perfectly fine. So as you can see already, a lot of the marks that we made are being covered up. I really didn't mean for all of that to be covered up, but it's okay because I'm going to show you another way to add some marks. And some of these you can still see through, and I like that very much as well. Okay, I've got a bunch of paint on my scraper. I'm going to just try and find a place for it to go. And then I'm going to just wipe it off. Okay. Now, this is a lot of paint here. And I'm going to take one of my paint brushes, the end, and I'm going to start making marks in this paint. I'm going to make those marks that I like. I like spirals. Spirals are very watery, aren't they? Wipe that off. Consider the impact that just being a person who is up on their self-care, think of the impact that that can create in the collective unconscious, in your family, in the people that you meet. Imagine being able to still come from a place of nurturance, even now, in this crazy, wild world we're in. It's funny because we get to put our own crown on our heads. We're the ones that get to decide how much we're going to step in to that royalty of awareness. I'm liking these lines very much. Yeah. I'm feeling a little more glitter. That's just what I'm thinking. Oh no, oh gosh. So I was wondering if this would happen, and it did. It did get paint on my tarot cards. But that's okay because it comes right off if I get it while it's wet. So I was going to stop here and let this dry, but I want to bring in a little bit of heat. I'm going to put in some of this orange, and I'll tell you why. My ultimate sort of visual for this work is to be an abstract sun, because I want the sun to be shining through all of these blessings that I'm putting into this painting. And it's a solar eclipse. And a new moon is the sun and moon conjunct. So we have the water of the feminine and the solar of the masculine. And that is coming through in our Two of Cups. Okay, so that's part of the energy that I want here. So I've put a little bit of this orange on my palette. Now you use whatever colors you like or whatever colors you have. You could be using your kids' tempera paints, your craft paint, whatever floats your boat, whatever you have available and whatever you want to use. You do not have to do exactly what I'm doing, and please don't make this your blessing. Do the colors that you like. So I'm still going to use my scraper. I'm just going to sort of tap it into this, sort of like this. And I'm feeling like sun wants to be here. Grab a little more. This is just a touch to bring in some of this solar energy, to enliven some of this water. Ooh, I like that. Maybe I'll do some of that. And just notice what you like as you go. This is definitely about, it's a very Taurus activity. It's so pleasurable. It's physical in that you're creating something real for pleasure. I am going to bring in some more of the runes here. I'm going to just paint them, scratch them. Blue and orange don't exactly blend very well together, but it doesn't matter to me. I'm not going to obsess over anything. Okay. So I am going to let this dry. Actually, I see a big blob right here. Some of these blobs I'm going to smooth out just so they can dry easier. I like the thick paint though. Ooh, that's nice. Ooh, ripples. Oh, I like that. Oh, that's lovely. I've never done that before. Ooh. Oh, I love that. Goodness gracious. Okay. So I'm going to let this dry, and then we'll do a part 2. All right. See you guys later.